Thank you so much. I would like to bring back to the stage the amazing cinematographer Agnès Godard, who is coming back on stage. Yes. Thank you, Agnès. This last scene in the film is so powerful. Do you want to see? I think we should just cry for a little bit because it's such a moving scene when Galou is just dancing at the end. It's just hard to.
It was already a mystery. We didn't know what he was going to do. I knew that. He was going to dance, but we prepared, we set the camera. For the only time we had a little bit of wider lens, like a 32 millimeter lens. I didn't know what he was going to do. And that's what he did once. That's enough.
So you were prepared to shoot Denis Lavant, and you had the was the music playing live or?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. We had the music. We were in a nightclub. It was a bit complicated to find a place because everybody was kind of suspicious about what we were doing, such a film. But then we had permission to go to this place, so. We went there, set the camera, a little bit lightning, on top of what did exist already, and then waited for him, and that's it. Which is a lot, everything, I must say. And it's maybe. The whole film finally has been done a little bit like that somehow, because it was a film. First of all, it was a project for TV, and so we had a short time of shooting, like 4 weeks. And then finally we did 5 weeks and a few days. I think we managed to steal some days somewhere in Marseille, for instance, and a little bit also in Djibouti. So we knew that it was a challenge since the beginning. And the script was already a challenge somehow, because it was not written as a standard script, I would say. It was written as a little bit as a novel. I knew, of course, and you know, because it's written, that it's a very free adaptation of Billy Budd of Herman Melville. I knew Billy Budd and so, but then still it was, but it was excessively inspiring, because it was written like a point, contrepoint, I don't know how to say that. Yes.
Counterpoint? Yes.
And
we may ask for translation.
And then the end. So I knew that it was going to be a research, this film. That's how everybody wanted us to shoot on Super 16, because of the budget, because of the time, because of the organization over there. We knew that we were going to choose locations in locations where there was no electricity, for instance, or in the city, even if there is electricity in Djibouti city, the city. Sometimes, for example, that's how we did this shot of the gang, I would say, walking in front of cars, because we managed to use car lights, and it was everything was a little bit like that. So, and we took advantage of several things. Claire went to Djibouti on scouting several times, and then I went once, but I asked to go there with a camera, with a body of a Haaton 35mm, because finally I chose this ratio, and with I guess only one lenses and a few emulsions of negative. And we went there for a few days, went on scouting and did some images. And on the way back, decided what to choose in terms of emulsions and also Super 16 or 35. I went there with a 35mm camera because I thought it was needed to do this thing, because I knew that we were going to ask a lot to the negative because of the very, I would say, primary situation.
So you didn't think Super 16 was good enough?
Or
strong enough?
I told the production I would rather go with a 35mm camera than a Super 16, less electrical equipment, but 35. Because of the ratio, because of the perspectives of the landscapes. Because when I went there, I was really totally amazed by the country, by the landscapes. It's a very, very impressive place. I thought it was very spiritual place. We went once on scouting to a place we could not shoot, unfortunately, because it was too far, like 5-hour drive, to go up north to in direction of Ethiopia. But it was so strange, so strong, that for me it was like I could not choose whether it was the beginning or the end of the world. So I really wanted to have these 35mm perspectives, because I thought that to see the bodies, the men, these little men in the landscapes, it was the thing. Okay. So that's how we did. And on the way back, we from scouting, we decided that we would shoot 35, and then I chose very performant lenses, because I knew, because of the light problem, and so I worked with Primo lenses from Panavision, and they were fantastic. The only thing is that they are quite big, so it was a little bit difficult at the beginning, because, as probably everybody noticed, there is a lot of handheld camera on this, and the climate is very strong. It was very, very hot.
Very hot.
Yeah, sometimes approach 50 degrees Celsius. So to run with the camera on shoulder was a bit difficult, but it was something fantastic, because the guys were doing that. They were running, they were doing the exercises like real military soldier, and I thought it was, I don't know, it was playing the game to go through the same thing. So, and I must say that I really enjoyed it a lot, because that way I had the feeling to be in harmony with them, to I can almost say to dance with them, and it's yeah, it was and completed maybe by the challenge that we never had a chance to see no one images when we were shooting over there. It was a blind shooting somehow, and I think it did not become a problem. It was an emulation. I think that's why we dare to try to do things like there is even a on-head camera with 100mm lens, which is normally sounds totally crazy, but then I think, and that's part of this experience, that's part of the story for me.
Was there a scene that was particularly more memorable or difficult to shoot out of this incredibly difficult experience while you were there?
In fact, I think I cannot give an answer to that because, as I was saying, you know, each day was a new day, and each day was maybe somehow getting more far, and so. No, I cannot give an answer. For me, the whole thing is the whole film is like that.
I didn't know you were not. I mean, obviously, it makes sense now, but I never thought that you were not able to see what you were shooting every day, and going kind of blind when you're following up what you were shooting. But it was interesting to talk about. Maybe you mentioned a little bit the distance. You know, in using the 35. So can you talk more about when you're shooting and you're preparing a shoot, like what do you consider is the right distance for you with either like the group scenes or the close-up or the landscape? You see the camera wherever your vision is going to be, or you think about how it's going to show on screen when it's finished?
No, the way I would say because it's a work that we share with Claire, the choice of focal lenses. I don't think we ask that much questions. I think it's very instinctive. I have a viewfinder on which I can put the lens. So with this viewfinder, it's like looking through the camera, and it's something that we find on the set, but it's both intuition and logic. As you probably have noticed, Claire likes very concise film, you know, almost abstract. This one is abstract, definitely. Me, I like that. And I like that because it's a way to, it's an invitation to find simple images. And simple images is a result of thinking, of work, of development. It's maybe that's why simple images sometimes are very strong. It's because it's like they content everything. Me, I like that. It's, I would say, like primitive images. Primitive is not. It's not. Doesn't mean it's nothing. It means it's very strong. It has in itself, even with the few things, what's necessary to and Claire has a this approach of images. she believes in images, which is fantastic as a DOP to be able to work with a director who believes in images to tell the story. So I just offer, I don't know, a companionship for that, because that's my faith. Images have can offer something, even strongness, meaning, sense and sensitivity, I would say, even if they are very simple, or if they appear to be simple, no matter what. It's not a question of being in a very big demonstration of, I don't know, it's not, I just believe in images.
It's good to hear that a cinematographer believes in images. So, you know, I mean, the film is very.
Sorry,
visual.
my English is a bit
no,
clumsy.
Your English is good. You know what to say. I do have a question about inspiration. You are a very close collaborator of Claire because you worked in many films together, and that was, I think, your third film together.
16, I
movies
guess.
at the time. So, I mean, outside of Billy Budd and the obvious reference of, you know, Le Petit Soldat, since Michel Sobor plays pretty much the same role, you know, and you see, like, you think about film about foreign legend, like Beau Geste, or film about male body displayed, like Querelle. So were you involved with Claire in thinking about inspiration for the visual of the film, or is it like, you know, how do you work with Claire like this?
For this film, and as a matter of fact, maybe it could be almost an example for the other film. All the guys trained in Paris with the dancer Bernardo Monte for, I think, 4, 5, maybe 6 weeks. I don't remember exactly, because they were dancers or singers, or you know. But I think Bernardo Monte wanted, the choreographer, wanted to invent also the choreography, and they knew that they would have to train, because they would have to do really excessively difficult exercises, and so they trained in Paris in a location, and I went there several times. I went to see them, to watch, and I went there with this little camera to film, to see, you know, to experiment what was the best way, maybe to catch what was this masculine advantage, effort, powerful thing, military, everything you want, and that's yeah. I think it gave me some ideas. Though I discovered all the choreography on the set, really, because they worked and they worked and they worked after that, you know. And the only thing is that when they were for these dance sequences, let's call it like that, we had the music. It was a very bad quality thing, but we had the music nearby. I could hear the music
So
a little bit.
the music played.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you imagine the situation, the debauch, and
With
the people over there were looking at us as if we were totally crazy, because they really, it was like, it was really strange. But and it helped really a lot. It was. I'm not sure the actors could hear the music because it was a really small engine, you know. But I could, because there is a lot of these sequences that have been done unheld, and sometimes without rehearsing. So, but I'm saying that just to say how much this choreography has been worked, has been achieved by Bernardo Monte and the actors, and in relation with the script and the story. Can you imagine? So when you can improvise something like that only if something is so sure, so achieved, so accomplished. It's incredible. It was really amazing, and I think, you know, all these elements just invited us to the challenge. It was every day. It was like that. Yeah. We would start every day driving like almost 3 hours to go on set on a road. It was not a highway, as you can imagine, but it was like being in a plane. It was the preparation. It was seeing the nature, waking up as we were going. Everything was like that in this really strange part of the world, and yeah, very spiritual, so very inspiring. So, yeah.
I would like to ask one last question before we open up to the audience. I wanted to ask you, what made you want to become a cinematographer? You know, how did you start? It's interesting to share.
I think I knew what was to be a cinematographer very late. Not so, yeah, very late. Even when I wanted to go to the cinema school, I didn't know exactly what it was. But then it started with a very simple and banal, I would say, story. It's I was born in the country. I went to Paris only when I was 18, you know, after high school. And in the country, my father was a veterinarian, and he had a lobby. he took a lot of family pictures and made a film, family films. And not even Super 8, because Super 8 did not exist at that moment. It was 9mm 5. And yeah, he used to do a lot of pictures, really a lot. And I think that's how we would have, you know, this screening projection of pictures 2 or 3 times a year. And I would see these pictures, and I don't know, it was, for me, it has always been very, such incredible moments, because my father was not mute, but was not a heavy communicator, I would say. And I could see that he was taking pictures of his family, his wife, his children. I have 3 brothers, of animals, of his cars, of his life, and it was incredible. It was a witness of life, like I thought it was very, very strong. And then I started to think that I would really love to be related to images. And then after, when I said that I would love to go to a cinema school, it was not really understood. I had to choose something else because my parents could not afford that. So I went through, other studying journalism and so, and then decided that I would go to a cinema school after that. And then at that moment, let's say that, my father died. He was quite young, still young, and so it was the opportunity, I would say, to go through again all these images I had seen before. And definitely I thought that there was something really incredible in these images. It was the fact that we are all human beings, we are mortal. we are going to end the same way. And I thought that was inside these pictures was really incredibly precious. And so I kept on choosing that for this, because I think there is something quite crazy about this photochemic memory. And I'm still fascinated by that. The time content in images for me is still fascinating.
I think we should talk about philosophy next. We have time for a couple of questions. We have microphone in the audience, so if you could raise your hand, and I'll point at you. And make it simple, like not a 6-part question, please. I don't know. We have the light in front of us, so like you need to wave. Oh, there's someone there in the back. Thank you. We can hear you.
Hi, can you hear me? Great. Can you talk about what kind of filtration and emulsion you use, and if you like push any pushed film, or just like what kind of stock you use?
It's a technical question.
I didn't push any emulsion. I choose, as I was saying, I went on scouting with a few emulsions to try, and I brought with me Fuji and Kodak. And I must say that on the way back after development, I found African colors more faithful with Fuji, so I used mainly Fuji, but I had Kodak because Kodak gave me the possibility to work with Android Aza, and I needed that for night sequences. So I had several emulsions, but did not make any special development for this film anyway. For other films, yes, but not for this one.
I wanted to maybe, unless someone has a question, just otherwise I'm jumping back. I wanted to ask about the transition from working on film to work on digital, because you did most of your film, especially with Claire, on print. And I guess for Let the Sun Shine In, we worked digitally. Mm-hmm. So do you feel there's a difference in the way you see the images while you work? Or?
Yes, yes. For me, there is a difference, but it's it requires a long development to talk about that. What I feel is to work on digital is I can't work the same way on digital that I used to work on negative. Probably because I did not find yet exactly how to get along with digital, even though I think it's excessively interesting, and I have some really good experiences with that. But I discovered that my way of working has changed, and I don't know how to stop that, or because I still prefer the way I could work on negative. So probably that means I have to research, to keep on research.
You're coming back in a few minutes to introduce 35 Shots of Rum, and tomorrow you're talking about The Intruder. In both films you shot on 35. So we have to wrap up now because I think we have like, 5 minutes in between screenings now? Right, something like this, yeah. So we're probably going to stay here. But thank you so much for being here. Claire will be back, Agnes will be back.